Go for it.
Hey, it's Mike Grimes from Punch the Mike Podcast, and today I have a special guest on. I have Shade the Shadow sketch again.
Hello.
And this time we're going to be talking about the 3 Jokers that's coming up.
Yeah, very comic that's like, what, 4 years in the making now?
Yeah, it's a couple, yeah, definitely, I think. 3 to 4 years. Ever since Batman signed the Mobius chair.
Ever since. And even then, like, we didn't know about it until after the whole Mobius chair thing. Like, it wasn't until, like, issues after that, many issues after that, we finally find out what Batman saw on the chair.
Yeah, which was kind of, it's disappointing in the sense, because I always thought Joker was a good standalone villain. Like, he's my favorite pop culture villain of all time, above, like, Darth Vader and, like, people like Walter White. Like, he's always been my favorite.
Oh, yeah, no, he's my favorite, too. I just, you know, I've been pretty vocal amongst a bunch of my friends and stuff, how I'm kind of not a fan of the whole there being 3 Jokers, just because I just don't like the idea of taking everything the Joker's done and just splitting it in thirds. Like, I feel like that almost belittles everything he's done.
The Clown Prince of Crime should be one person and one person alone, because it really does crush the fact that maybe the person that killed Jason Todd isn't the same Joker that was the one that found his way into the Batcave, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, it almost reminds me of, and before I say this, spoilers for anybody who was thinking on watching Gotham, it reminds me of sort of like, because I never was a big fan of Jeremiah, to be honest. Like, I enjoyed his character, he was fine, but I always thought Jerome was a way better Joker, and and it's kind of like, it reminds me a bit of that. Like, it reminds me a bit of, you know, there's, in a way in that show, multiple Jokers, and to be honest, I'm not a big fan of, even with that, I wasn't a fan of there being 2 of them.
Yeah, definitely not. I wasn't a fan of it. I thought it was a cool concept, but because the one, and spoilers again for Gotham, the one Joker died already.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that there would be another Joker, but I just, like, that's not what they're doing in this story. They're making 3 separate Jokers, I think, at all the same time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, Gotham is worse than, like, Dragon Ball in terms of, like, characters are never dead in that show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I wanted to bring up that this is a sequel to The Killing Joke. So since The Killing Joke came out almost 30 years ago, or I think it was 30 years ago.
Around there.
Yeah. The Killing Joke, like, this is, it's reimagining the story of who the Joker is and this ongoing battle with Batman. So it's, I don't know. I don't like it, because I always thought that the Joker was one person that was doing this. It takes away from his mastermind persona.
Yeah, it's like, oh, shoot, I just looked it up, by the way, and it was published March 1988, so we're approaching, like, the 32-year anniversary, or most likely we surpassed it, but yeah, no, the thing about it is, like, so obviously the Joker, obviously in both Marvel and DC, but we're primarily talking about DC, there are many continuities within the comics. You got like the Prime Earth, and then you got like Earth 1, and then you got just the Dark Multiverse. Like, there are many different parallel Earths in the DC continuity. So you can argue that it's like, oh, there technically has always been infinite Jokers. But I feel the Joker's character, any comic book character, there are certain absolutes that no matter what universe you're in or whatever, this is what the Joker has done. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule, but for example, like, in any continuity, whether it be the movies, the games, or whatever, it's universally accepted that the Joker beat Jason Todd down with a crowbar and killed him. It's universally accepted that he paralyzed Barbara Gordon. He shot her and paralyzed her. Like, there are things
until Rebirth happened.
Until Rebirth happened, yes. But, like, my point being,
it was widely accepted that.
Yeah, it's my point being that for the most part, in the continuity of any Batman thing, like the constructs of what the Joker has done usually, not all the time, but usually stays like it usually is maintained. Like it's usually he did beat Jason Todd with a crowbar. He did shoot Barbara Gordon. Granted, there's more outlier stuff that he's only done in certain universes, such as blowing up Lois Lane, or excuse me, not blowing up Lois Lane, blowing up Metropolis.
And causing Superman to kill Lois Lane.
Yeah, causing him to kill Lois Lane and his kid with the fear gas and everything.
Unborn child.
Yeah, like granted, like there are outliers like that where it's like, oh, he did that in the Injustice universe, but it's like I kind of don't like the idea of like, oh, the guy who beat Jason Todd versus the guy who shot Barbara Gordon are two different people. Like it's,
Yeah, because like also one thing I have to bring up. I think this could be something due to Dr. Manhattan messing with all the timelines and why the reason, because Dr. Manhattan's the reason New 52 and Rebirth happened. So maybe, wait, when did Mobius Chair happen? During New 52, correct?
Mobius Chair was New 52.
Yeah, he caused New 52. So possibly him causing this, because he left a photo every time he went somewhere in the time slip, in like the time stream. He could have caused this 3 Jokers, like they could have been split apart from 3 different times. So he could have done that, or this is just the fact that there's 3 different Jokers, and we're gonna have to accept that it's not due to Dr. Manhattan or anything like that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: as it's gone on, because this is coming out June 17th, I think it's coming out.
Yeah, June 17th.
Yeah. As this sort of story kind of goes on, like to me, I think there is potential in it. Like at first I was very like, oh, I don't like this. I really don't like this. But, seeing the official artwork for it, which I think is phenomenal personally.
Oh, same here.
Yeah, and seeing seeing the hype generated around this, because even though we may not be the biggest fans of it, there's no denying that there are many people like this is like
Shade. The more I think about this, the more I'm excited. Like the more I think, I'm like, oh, they're gonna make a good story. Like no matter how much I dislike it,
I think that it's sort of like, I keep bringing up Dragon Ball, but it's sort of like, so Broly, before the Broly movie, was my absolute least favorite character in the series. Hated everything he was doing, and so you could probably see my disappointment when it was like the next movie was going to be a Broly movie. By all means, it should have been a terrible idea and everything, yet they managed to pull it off in a way that not only made Broly one of my favorite characters in the franchise now, but they told a good story around it. So I think I'm willing to wait. That's why I don't want to go full force like, oh, this is awful, this is going to be, because it's not going to be awful. It could actually be really good. I mean, first of all, Jason Fabok and Brad Anderson, the artists behind them, like I think are very, very, they're very skilled. And so if anything, this story, even if I don't really like the story, I know I'm going to be in for a visual spectacle just because of how much I appreciate their artwork. But at the same time, and not only that, Geoff Johns, I believe, is working on the story.
Of course, Geoff Johns is a very good writer.
Yeah, and so I think that they can pull off something. So while I may not be a fan of the idea, I'm willing to see what they do. Because the other thing is like, with the cover of the 3 different Jokers, I almost feel like, the middle one, in a way, reminds me of Jack Nicholson, while the left one reminds me of sort of like the Mark Hamill Arkham Joker. And then like the right one, the one that's kind of like looks like he's like looking through a little hole he made with his hand, whatchamacallit. I don't even know really what that one reminds me of, but you can tell that there's definitely gonna be a lot of love being put into this story, love for the character specifically. So, and either way, I'm curious. I'm curious to see who are the 3 Jokers. Like, why are there 3? How come when one's in Arkham Asylum and one is causing a ruckus in Gotham, like does the other one escape?
That could also explain why in all the stories Joker always breaks out of Arkham Asylum so easily. It could just be another Joker.
Or it could be another plot hole if you think about it, because it's like, so does every Joker break out the one that's currently in Arkham before doing the thing that they were going to do just so that the police don't get confused? Like, I don't know. Just so that one day Batman's like, I'm going to stop the Joker. And then Gordon's like, I mean, what are you talking about? He's in Arkham. And he's like, no, he's not. He's here at Ace Chemicals or whatever. And what I also think this could explain is sort of like how the many different depictions of the Joker, both in comics and live action films. You know, you either got the Joker that fell into the chemical vat and got his skin all bleached, or the one that just uses makeup to create the Joker makeup and stuff. So I'm almost curious, like, what if one Joker is the one that fell in these chemicals while the other two use makeup or something like that?
That kind of reminds me of like how the Suicide Squad Joker, he was the one who fell in the chemicals. As much as I don't like Suicide Squad Joker, he was the most comic accurate in the sense he went through the chemicals. He or the comic accurate to the Killing Joke at least.
Yes,
because he had the chemicals happen to him while Joaquin Phoenix is just a normal guy that puts on makeup. Same with Heath Ledger. Well, not normal, but normal in the sense they look like an everyday man.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I just, I'm kind of torn on this, to be honest, but like, because a part of me does kind of want them to be three different continuity joke, like 2, 3 from different universes coming together or whatever. But at the same time, I feel that ruins the realism of the Killing Joke, so I don't think they should do that. I think that if they're gonna make 3 Jokers, they should stick with the idea and just go full throttle and have there be literally 3 different people being the Joker in the same universe and all that stuff. I think that go. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say it's also going to be a 3-issue series, all 48 pages. So that's a pretty short series issue wise.
Yes, it is going to be a mini series, but 48 pages per issue. So I think that either way, this is definitely going to be a day one purchase for me. But
same.
Yeah, but either way, I'm curious at what they can do because, again, like looking at G.F. Johns and his sort of legacy as sort of a comic book writer and everything, and even his involvement. People give flack to a lot of the live action DC films, but hey, I'm gonna be real. I think that even though Justice League wasn't the best film, kind of keeping him in the mantle of course correcting DC, I think Justice League was a turn for, I feel weird saying this, the right direction in a way, but like kind of moving past that whole bad writing, dark, gritty, just to be edgy stuff, and sort of having the heroes embody what they are meant to embody in a way. I feel that at least in that regard, he did a pretty good job, but like, I trust him. I think he'll make a good story.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm gonna like the story, but like the way it comes full circle for me is if it has to do something with Dr. Manhattan messing with the time, because there's no way there could be 3 Jokers this entire time and not have plot holes.
Well, I think that's what we have to wait. We have to wait for the story, I feel like, to tell us that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but whatchamacallit? G.F. Johns wrote the New 52 Justice League series, right?
I'll look it up quick. I'm pretty sure he did.
I think he did, because I was a huge fan of that series, and I guess it just goes to show, like, if you're a huge fan, how come you don't even know who the writer is and whatever. But I enjoyed that series from a storytelling standpoint, and so I think that again, I just looking at his portfolio, because he did Brightest Day, right, as well.
He did Blackest Night as well.
Yeah, he's got a portfolio that I think precedes him, and I trust him. Like, again, as I said, I was very against the idea, but I can't lie when I say when I first saw the artwork of the 3 Jokers, I was like, I may like this. Like, I mean, it's about time they're telling this story too. I just think it has huge shoes to fill if it wants to be a successor to the Killing Joke in any way.
Exactly. If it's gonna be a sequel to the Killing Joke, like they said it was, it has huge shoes to fill, because Killing Joke gave a story to the Joker that we had never seen before and made him a likable character in the sense of we knew what he was doing and why he was doing it.
Oh yeah, no, the Killing Joke it's right up there with that, The Dark Knight Returns, as well as stuff like the death of Gwen Stacy, Under the Red
Batman
Hood.
could killed Superman in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I agree.
At least in the movie that they did, I don't remember if this is the exact comic panel, but in the movie he said a different mixture of chemicals and harder work, and I could have killed you, or something. I'm paraphrasing, but he did say a different mixture of chemicals, and he also said that he went easy on him.
Oh yeah, but like, I 100% agree. But like, what my point with that whole bringing those up is that like The Killing Joke is up there as not only one of the greatest comic books ever written, but it changed the game. It's one of those comics that forever that pioneered a whole age of just what you can tell in a comic, because a lot of people before that, like the general public, I should say, it wasn't really until 1989's Batman from Tim Burton that the audiences, the general public, the general audience was introduced to a Batman that was more dark and a more gritty take on the character. People, the general public, the ones who didn't read the comics, sort of were able to get behind a Batman that was taken more seriously. Because before that, we sort of had Adam West being the Batman that sort of dominated the market.
The goofy Batman, the funny Batman.
Yeah, but before that movie even came out, there was The Killing Joke. Before that movie even came out, there was The Dark Knight Returns. I mean, there's just so many things that pioneered for that film. That film's atmosphere. And so, yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, man. Can you imagine The Dark Knight Returns coming out in 1986, and then 2 years later you get 1988 freaking Killing Joke? Like, just the two best Batman comics ever just coming out within a span of 2 years.
Which also brings up a point I want to make. I feel like they should, along with this Joker, like this Three Jokers, which is a sequel to Killing Joke, I feel like they should make a sequel to Hush.
You think so?
I feel like they should make a sequel to Hush, and I feel like it should have the original. I'm sorry, I don't know the original writer of Hush, but I feel like it should have the original writer, if he's not passed away, if he was old or not, come back and write it.
It was Jeff Loeb that wrote Hush, but Jeff Loeb is really good. But Jeff Loeb, yeah, I could see him doing that. But I almost feel like because that story takes place before Under the Red Hood, right?
Yes, it does.
So I'd almost argue that we almost have a sequel for it, because I mean, one of the big cliffhangers of that comic was, oh my God, Clayface was Jason Todd. Yeah, and Jason Todd. Yeah, Jason Todd is not, his body's not there. So I almost feel like Under the Red Hood could be, while Under the Red Hood is clearly a sequel to Death in the Family, I feel it's more of a spiritual. It's also a spiritual sequel to Hush, because it kind of delves into that cliffhanger that would kind of dominate that story.
This reminds me of like how Hush is such a good villain, but they don't use him enough. And now they're overusing the Batman Who Laughs, and he was such a good villain, and then he was like not being used, and then they overused him, you know?
Yeah, I hope that. Yeah, Batman Who Laughs is easily one of my favorite things to come out of comics in like the past couple of years.
I remember reading that one day, and that made me question my sanity in the sense of I didn't know what the hell to expect.
Oh my God, dude. Because that's the thing. What makes the Batman Who Laughs so genius is that why he's able to beat Batman in fights and everything is because he's literally Bruce Wayne, knows exactly how Bruce Wayne's going to fight, knows exactly how Bruce Wayne's going to move, except he's psychotic. So he does everything Batman does, but like amplified to 11. He doesn't have any rules holding him back.
And he also he thinks like the Joker, but he also thinks like Batman, and he killed the entire Justice League in his universe.
Oh yeah.
And didn't he kill? I thought I remember reading that he killed the entire population of his planet.
I don't remember that.
I had to look that up again, but he was very close to. I was reading something where he was just trying to wipe out the population of his own planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he had those like 3 rabid robins.
Yeah.
Weird comics.
And then there's like oh yeah, I forgot about the 3 like Robin hyena dog things. They were freaking, yeah, the rabid just robbing people. But and then there's like I remember the Grim Knight, who I think the Grim Knight is interesting, but I almost think he's in other ways I'm like, you're no Flashpoint Batman. Flashpoint Batman is the better version of you.
Yeah, that's right. That's very true.
Yeah. By the way, I do think that just, I guess, going back on topic to Three Jokers, talking it out more, like I feel like while I'm still sort of against the idea of there being 3 Jokers, I won't lie that like with the artwork coming out, with GF Johns being a part of the project, and with just how much they're building up this story, I do think not only do I see potential, but I honestly, I'm moderately excited for it. Even if I'm not a fan of the idea, I'm just excited to see a Batman, a very serious, very, I guess, hopefully well-crafted Batman story. Because even if I'm not a fan of the concept, they're putting so much love into the idea that.
And like the Batman stories, they have been good recently, but we haven't seen like a Killing Joke Batman story.
Oh no,
recently.
Not in a while. I mean,
we haven't seen a good Joker and Batman story in a long time.
Oh yeah, like and you could argue The Batman Who Laughs is a good Batman story, but like it is a good Batman story, but like it's more so the character that's blown up rather than the story itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that he had to work with the Joker in that story. That was pretty interesting.
I think that whatchamacallit, I also think that however this story ends up, like I just know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, because here's the thing, like saying that you're going to make this a sequel to The Killing Joke is like saying you're going to make a sequel to Citizen Kane, like just an absolutely phenomenal, like high regarded film. It's like, even if it's just good, people will be disappointed, I feel like, because it has to be amazing or whatever. It has to live up to the success that, because almost anything less would be underwhelming. But I don't know if people are holding this comic up in that high regard, but I can't imagine that being the case.
It's like The Killing Joke is Shawshank Redemption of comics, and then this is trying to make a sequel to that.
Yeah, pretty much. Either way though, I think we should do another episode like when the comic comes out and discuss what our thoughts were on it.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think that's all I had to say about it.
So any final thoughts you have?
Read the comic when it comes out, people. Risk yourself getting the virus just so you can read the comic.
Just so you can read a quote-unquote good Batman story from what we know right now.
Do it. It'll be worth it. Think about it. You'll be in the hospital. That'll give you all the time in the world. Like, you'll just be, like, on a hospital bed. So what are you going to be doing? Nothing. So read the comic, man.
Exactly.
Cough all over it, too, so no one can touch it.
So, I'm Mike Grimes from Punch and Mike Podcast.
I'm Shade the Shadow Sketch.
And we'll catch y'all later.
See ya.